Are you ready?
Starting now?
Well, now you just messed it up, you knob. God, you know that the shit that we go through for this, huh?
I know. Fuckers better appreciate it. When we started, we were just like, yeah, we're just going to do this, man. You know, shoot our wad into the wind and see what happens. What's the title of this podcast again?
I don't know. Objects, I don't know. Something with a penis, I guess.
Right.
Our fucking faces are everywhere now.
Right.
You know, but
You're welcome, ladies.
Right. Popular with the ladies. Right. Oh, I'm not even going to apologize because hopefully it sounds fucking hilarious.
Yeah, totally. This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
La, 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 la.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And this is our after Thanksgiving extravaganza episode. And we're all feeling pumped.
Gobble.
And we're both feeling all pumped here, right, Mike?
Right.
But yeah, Mike has been okay. So I'm holding my hand up above my head right now. That's the weather. Then I'm holding my other hand like way down here, and that's where Mike is. He's under the weather.
Yup. But you know what? I drank when I felt like shit, so I'm gonna do the podcast when I feel like shit.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's kind of a shame. I mean, obviously you weren't feeling good yesterday, so normally we're under the same roof at Thanksgiving and have been for a number of years. And yeah, we had planned on obviously recording today, one way or the other. But yeah, normally we would have been. If all things, if things just would work out like we planned, what the fuck? Man?
Yeah, god damn it. If everything would just work out the way I wanted it to, life would be wonderful.
So, what's funny is, and I'm going to mention this again because the Sober Friends podcast is doing, it's not dissecting. It's basically they're going into the decoding. I'm sorry. They're calling it Decoding the Big Book. So Matt, who we actually had on our podcast from Sober Friends podcast, he's doing this special series and going through different chapters of the book. And the one that I just listened to today was Chapter 5, How It Works, which was, they read the Joe and Charlie tapes they have in there. They get some of these other sources. So they read the original, obviously original steps and all that stuff, the original version of How It Works, which is always fun. Right. But then what he does, they give a little background, this and that, kind of how all this stuff comes together with the chapter, but then they read the chapter and, it talks about it in there that, if everyone would just do what's the actor trying to control everything.
Yep.
And I mean, how funny that, I wasn't even thinking about that when I brought it up, but it's been a long time in just 100% complete, whatever you want to call it, transparency, honesty, all that stuff. Since I've actually sat down and read through the big books. So, I had messaged Matt on Instagram, whatever the first time I listened to one of them a couple months ago or a month ago, and told him, I'm like, this is great, because I'm listening to him while I've been traveling and stuff like that. And it's just great, to
you feel like you were in Jim Benning's class.
Sort of, but first of all, better audio and a better voice to listen to. Yeah. Matt's doing a little bit more work than setting a boombox down and a cassette tape, but and I told him, I'm like, man, you put you could tell he's put a lot of work into it, but far more fucking work than we put into this, or any far more work than
that's a low bar,
right? But I'm just making it clear. We say that all the time, but I'm listening to this and I'm like, it's got this nice background music and this and that. It's done really nice, but
cool.
I just want anyone who is, if you're in a 12-step program, whether you've, been through the book lately, the big book, again, look up Sober Friends podcast. You'll see in between their normal episodes, decoding the big book. I'm just saying he's
Hmm.
done a really good job, and you can tell he's put a lot of work in it.
Hmm.
And I think anyone who's, again, 12-step side of things would appreciate it. So,
Cool.
yeah, and he's
Damn, I'll have to check it out.
it's I'm serious. It's I've gotten a lot out of it because I would rather well, I said it. I'm fucking lazy. Um, even to begin with, when I started listening to the podcast, the first thing was that Dave Grohl book, and I bought the book, and then
Mhm.
I'm like, I wonder if they have an audio book because me sitting down to read, not that I can't, I can read. I just don't have the patience, and a lot
Right.
of times when I sit down to read like that, a lot of people, it's like it's almost like I don't know, it makes me tired, because
Mhm.
if I do it, it's like the end of the day and all this sort of stuff. But so I'm all about audiobooks and the fact that again, listening to a little bit of the history is just really cool. So
Cool.
highly recommend that. But
All right.
um, but so yeah, I mean, obviously, we missed you yesterday. Derek was here. Obviously,
Yeah.
our niece Kylie was here, and today, yeah, Derek and I went out and cleaned all the leaves out. Kathy normally does that, so once a year.
Mhm.
She doesn't. There's too many trees around here for her to
Right.
do it any more than once, and she can't do it.
Mm.
So I bought a cheap electric leaf blower the other day,
Mm.
and between that and Derek came out and helped me, and we got it all done. But the backyard, there weren't a ton of leaves except for over on, if you're looking in the back over on the right hand side, but to get the rest done,
Right.
it's like sporadic. So it's big, getting that part done. And then we walk into we're walking into the front. Not that he hadn't seen the front yard before, but we're
Mhm.
standing there and he's like, so I'm like, yeah, we just got to get all this out to the road. And he's like, this is going to suck. And it didn't super suck, but I mean, it
Mm.
sucked a little bit. It was a lot,
Right.
because
Right.
the
Right. Right.
entire fucking yard was just blanketed. But yeah, we got that done, and I'm sore and my back hurts, and I'm like,
Mm.
fuck.
Well, hell, I was going to invite you to Cleveland to do my yard, but I guess that's not going to happen.
Ooh, wait a second. Let me check my schedule. I'm busy. I'm busy that weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so we got that done. But yeah, so I mean, we've got some stuff to talk about. I think with we had the retreat last weekend. We did not get a
Hmm.
chance to do the recording while we were there, which is fine.
Right.
It would have been too rushed. Number one, and two,
Right.
let's call it forced, because we
Hmm.
didn't.
Exactly.
It wasn't about us. I mean, for
Yeah.
we say it all the time, but literally that had nothing to do with us in our podcast. Although we
Hmm.
had a lot of people talking to us about it. It was all good,
Oh,
but
yeah.
so we could do a recap of that. Speaking of audiobooks, I did finish the Matthew Perry audiobook,
Ah.
so kind of want to give a little recap on that. And
Hmm.
I don't know, we got your reading to do, and plenty
Hmm.
of other shit on here. But so speaking of other shit, how about a reading?
How about it?
if you're up to it, you okay? You all right?
Yeah, I can read a small page out of a small book. I think I can handle that.
All right, good.
All right. Well, hey, guess what? I looked up gratitude in the back, and you know what? This may have been the reading I did last year, but fuck it, I'm doing it again this year.
Right.
Um, there's actually several entries in the back under gratitude, but this is the first one. And like I said, I think I did it last year, but it's a really good one. I cracked it and looked and went, oh yeah, we'll do this. So here it is, January 29th. A single grateful thought toward heaven is the most complete prayer. Gotthold Ephraim Lessing, he's a German philosopher. Thank you is one of the most important things we can say to anyone. Thank you packs a lot of meaning into two little words. Thank you says, I see you. I see what you have done for me. You have been kind to me. I know it takes work to be kind. I feel special that you did the work of being kind to me. I am grateful. Sometimes it is hard for us to say thank you because we're too busy feeling shame or sadness or anger. So what? No excuses. Those feelings are our own problems, and we know what to do about them now that we have a recovery program. No matter what is going on with us, we can always find help, and we can always be kind to others. Saying thank you is an easy way to start. Prayer for the day. Thank you, higher power. Thank you for the gift of life, for a world of natural beauty and power to live in, and for the people around me who love me and accept my love. Thank you for caring about me and helping me every day in my recovery. And please help me ask for the gift of your help each day. Today's action. Today, I will practice thinking, thank you, higher power, every time I receive a little bit of help or a lucky break.
Nice. And
Yeah.
I think I failed to say at the top of this recording that this is our gratitude episode. So,
Uh-huh.
I was when because I knew Mike wasn't feeling good, and it's like we barely talk at all when we first start because and the reason
Right.
for that is that we want all this just come out on the recording. And how many times that we started off, it's like, oh no, shut up, come on, we got to start recording first.
Right.
but
Exactly.
but yeah,
Don't blow our wad too early.
the only thing I said was, I'm like, yeah, you probably want to get this shit started right away. And he's like, you know me too well. And we hit record, and then
Yep.
I forgot. I was again. Maybe that's the point. I always forget to be grateful, and I fucking forgot this was our gratitude episode. So, but and you probably did read that last year, but
Yeah.
any of the readings on, and I say that jokingly, but seriously, 100% of the time, 100% of the days, being grateful does not come naturally to me. And I mean, it's weird, I'm sure, to maybe a normal person thinking, really, what the fuck, man? But
Right.
the fact that again, doing this and doing the readings and all that sort of stuff reminds me, and if things are going shitty, that it doesn't matter what's happening, that even if I don't think it's going to help, at least running down a gratitude list in my head is going to help. But
Absolutely.
so I wrote down a couple of things. Obviously, thank you being important. I like the fact that, a couple of things I wrote down was, basically telling somebody that I see you, you've been kind to me. And I think there was talked about effort. We realize how much effort it takes to be kind. Knowing
Yeah,
we
we
can,
definitely do, because it's not our natural state.
right. And it is sometimes because, especially if someone's being a dick or does something, to realize that we can still, be kind to people. We don't have to like people, but we can still be kind.
Right.
And then always able to find help and be kind, and then ask for the gift. It was the last thing. I
Right.
think that was towards the end of it. But yeah, the thank you part, I find myself, I mean, probably saying thank you certainly more now than I ever did, but maybe in certain, I don't know, just all the time saying thank you to people. So it's
Right.
become more habit, right?
Absolutely. Right. Well, I mean, because before we were, fucking entitled. This world owed us. And so, and grateful. Fuck, you people are supposed to do this shit for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and even when, and I've told this story before about, Dawn, and again, everyone, that's my son's mom, my ex, but, all the time she used to tell me that, I'm so tired of you saying sorry and so tired of you doing this. And I was like, well, fine, fuck you then. I mean, I
Yeah.
won't say I'm sorry, but I was missing the point. I wasn't changing my actions. I was
Right.
just, again, spilling
Yeah.
the milk and saying sorry and it was meaningless. Whereas,
Right.
saying thank you can actually be meaningful,
Yeah. And well, and again, taking the time and taking the action to say thank you, you do it over and over, like all these other actions that we do. They do become meaningful. They do have meaning to us now because we've done them over and over again. It's not our natural go-to, but that's how we change our behaviors, by changing our behaviors, doing things different. You do it over and over, and all of a sudden you go, fuck, man, I'm grateful.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back to the whole thing that how do you put that, with the psychologists say one thing and recovery teaches us another about.
Right. Yeah. Right. Psychologists, psychiatry tries to change the way we think so we behave differently. Alcoholics Anonymous and recovery wants us to change the way we act so we think differently.
Right. Which, I mean, it's so simple, it's almost stupid, but I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
I mean, really, when you think about that, you're like, oh, so all I got to do is like walk a particular way and talk a
Mm,
particular way, and I'm going to act a particular way. And I mean,
hmm
it's well, but all of this simple,
Right. Well,
simple
our
program.
behaviors change, and then all of a sudden we start going, well, shit, this is the right thing to do. Then our thinking actually changes, but because we're acting differently. Yeah, right. Fucking weird.
I know. Yeah. And then when we act that way, then we actually get people saying thank you to us. And you're like, huh, well,
Mm-hmm. Well,
well, and that goes back to the same thing. We always want that. I'm sure that goes back to our, I think we realize or find out inadvertently that we get instant gratification by actually being decent people, so,
right.
which is, again, fucking weird. It's like, oh, all I had to do all these years was do that. And okay.
Right. Do the next right thing. And it feels better than doing the wrong thing. What the
Right.
fuck?
Well,
Morons.
and it's funny that this whole thank you thing, because I made a note on my sheet, and I was listening to again the morning show in Milwaukee, or the Milwaukee morning show, and it came up as something, again, this time of year and Thanksgiving and being, again, thankful and
Mm-hmm.
grateful. They had some article about, how many times somebody says, like how many times do you think you say thank you per
Mm.
day, per week, per month, whatever. And I'm like, and they're going back and forth. I don't remember what the number was. It was a lot, but
Mm.
when you start to think about it, I'm like, okay, so in my job, it's like every person I talk to, I'm saying thank you on a regular basis. And
Right.
think about in recovery all the time, we're saying thank you. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think it's got to be just an astronomical number of times, which is
Mm-hmm.
weird, But yeah, I think now that, again, we're hopefully a little
Mm.
bit better people, then yeah, we say these things every once in a while, right?
Exactly. Well, I know both of us, we say it every night at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah.
Made it through another day sober. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess, I wasn't even that didn't even pop into the top of my head, but because again, that's part of the thing that I do. It's, it's just part of the
Right.
whole process. I didn't even realize that I
Right.
do.
Well, I mean, when I explain that, this atheist prays twice a day, I mean, I keep it, keep it simple. I don't know where the hell I heard that, but right. I say please in the morning and thank you at night. Those are, I mean, bottom line, the simplest way to explain my prayers every day.
Right. Yeah, in the morning I do my start off, or right in the beginning of my prayers is, please guide me through another,
Mm-hmm.
sober day. And at
Right.
the end, thank you for guiding me through another sober day. Because that's
Mm-hmm.
what, that's funny, where some of these words like, give me the strength, I think both of us use in our prayers, and,
All right.
kind of guide me. And it's something that, I mean, those are things that we were taught. People said, ask for the
Mm-hmm.
guidance, ask for the strength. Don't
Mm-hmm.
don't ask for anything else. Just, I
Right.
can't ask to have this happen, but please guide me. Please give me the
Right.
strength to do these things. So, which are, I think,
What do you
I
mean? I
mean,
can't ask for a new car?
well, you
Fuck.
you can. You can.
It's not going to happen, but yes, I can.
Yeah, shit, like my dad used to say, shit in one hand and, wish in the other, and
Mm-hmm.
see which one fills up
Mm-hmm.
first. But,
Right.
um, but yeah, I mean, asking for that guidance, all these little things. These are minor things, but make a huge difference. They're not. Once again, they're not asking. We're not asking for things for ourselves. Just the ability to
Mm-hmm.
be able to take that action. Because again, this is a program of action. I've heard that before.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
It's not only every episode that we get on here, but yeah, from other folks too. So, but I like that one. So that was the end of January, huh?
Yeah, 29th.
Okay, yeah, I like that one. I like that
Mm-hmm.
one a lot. So, anything else on the reading?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm grateful it's over.
Right. Okay, so just two quick things before we talk about the retreat. Just a
Mm-hmm.
quick reminder for everyone: we still have the Hazelden donation page on our
Right.
website, which is at SoberNotMature.com. Click on there, you'll see it. It's got a drop down thing on there. Once again, these donations for the Hazelden Betty Ford Foundation, they
Mm-hmm.
don't go to us, they don't even go
Nope.
through us. It's a click through to their website if you'd like
Mm-hmm.
to donate to them, especially this time of year. It's as we always talk about, it's getting cold out, people need help. I'm sure they're busier this time of year also with the holidays.
Right.
So there's that. And then, again, it's Black Friday, it's holiday season.
Mm,
Our website, if you want to, get anything on there, I've got everything marked down right now at 30% off. Again, recovery books, we got coffee, we've got other merchandise, sober, not mature stuff.
right.
Once again, if you're looking for anything on there, cool. If you want to buy something, fine. We never beg for anyone to buy anything, but we're trying to make it as affordable as possible. And not
Hmm.
we're not looking to. We haven't made any money on the thing, but we're also. I'd like to stop losing money on it, because
Right.
that's really what it's been, and it's fine, because we've done exactly the plan that I had was, kind of try to just flood some of this out there and see what happens, and we did, got some of this merchandise and all that stuff out there, and
Right.
so yeah, if anyone wants anything, and again,
Yeah.
Hazel books we have and merchandise and a bunch of good stuff on there, so.
Right. Show your gratitude to the drunks in your life and get them a sober, not mature T-shirt or coffee mug.
Yeah, there's things on there that you can get that are not like really expensive. So yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so enough of me trying to plug that Hazelden Betty Ford Foundation. We can plug that all day long, but our
Hmm.
website is what it is. So
Yep.
the retreat we went to last week, and it was a sober retreat in Vermilion, Ohio. And the one
Hmm.
thing that we have promised is we're not going to use anyone's names.
Right.
I not even first names of people there, because it's we talk a lot. We're open. I'm open now, and Mike and I are
Hmm.
really open with our sobriety. But we 100% respect anonymity in general, but also truly respect other people's anonymity.
Hmm.
So the only person that, number one, she said we could use her name, was our friend Mara, and she's
Hmm.
actually going to be on with us on December 8th. So
Hmm.
Mara is the one that asked us to go, and then
Right.
set us up, and we spoke on a couple of steps. Mike did step 1, I did step 8, but it was a lot of fun.
It was.
And what did you say that you were surprised? I don't know what words you put in it, but you were surprised or amazed or
Uh, I, right. I mean, like most things in my life that are good for me, I didn't want to fucking go. Um, I didn't. I was like, you know, but and I know I used this phrase when I got there: contempt before investigation.
right.
I was trying not to have that contempt. Um, and I'm super glad I went. It was, like Bill said, it was a fucking great time, man. I walked out of there all kinds of spiritually fit for that day. Um, yeah, it was great, man. It was great. Just hanging out with, what, it was probably 70 to 100 people there,
Right.
something like that.
Right.
Yeah, and just us, man, drunks and junkies, and beautiful. Everybody there for the same reason and doing the same thing, and it was it was a great reminder of how similar we all are. And how because the solution is the same for all of us. It was great. I had a wonderful time.
Right.
I
And
even talked to some people.
and it was so same thing. I mean, I thought it was going to be interesting. I had a little bit of I don't know type of thing, and then
Hmm.
so when we got there too, and again, I doesn't matter where. I mean, Mike came from Cleveland, I came from Indiana. Mara kind of made a
Right.
deal out of that, saying that she's like, "Oh my God, you
Mm.
drove like 3+ hours." I'm like, "It doesn't matter, man. I don't care."
Right.
So the distance wasn't that wasn't a problem. I no issue whatsoever getting there. And obviously, once we got there, we walk into this lodge, we get the thing, and like, oh, room assignment, go down there. And I mean, they don't give me a key or anything, and I'm just like, oh, you're
Hmm.
in room whatever it was, 110, I think we were in.
It was 110.
Yeah, so yeah, I got a half a memory left, or a couple of brain cells that touch each other still. So I walk into the room, and there's just fucking two beds and a dresser, and I'm like, oh, this is what it is. And then
Right.
it's a common bathroom. There's 4 showers.
Hmm.
There's no coffee pot there. I'm just like, fuck, and that's kind
You're
of the
back at the Keating Center.
right. And then, yeah, when we ate and stuff like that, that's kind of what it felt like. It was the dining room area,
Hmm.
and it's buffet style. We're waiting in line. And, but the same thing as I'm walking in there, I'm like, okay, so, and I know what it was. It's these creature comforts that we've gotten spoiled with,
Of course.
and that may sound stupid, to people, but, um, we lived in an environment, in a shared environment in the Keating
Mm-hmm.
Center specifically for a certain amount of
Sure.
time, then at the three-quarter house, a shared environment, and then, well, let's call it what it is. You and I living together is a shared environment,
Uh-huh.
not that people don't have roommates, but again, it's just this type of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
all of it was wonderful. There was nothing wrong
Yeah.
with it. The food was decent. The people
Mm-hmm.
were fucking wonderful. The groups were good. And
Right.
the only thing, because like Mara came up to me at one point, I forget, I think it was on Saturday, because
Mm-hmm.
you spoke on Friday night, did your stuff, and I thought
Right.
I thought you did a great job with step
Yeah.
one, and then mine wasn't until after lunch on Saturday,
Right.
So and that was fun. It was good getting up in front of people, and I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
prepare. I just brought the book. I knew what paragraph I was going to read from the step, and then
Right.
just kind of whatever else came off the top of my head, because that's
Mm-hmm.
that's what you and I do, right? I mean, that's
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had a couple of notes, but that was it. Stood up there and talked for 12 minutes or whatever the fuck it was. And yeah,
right.
sat down and shut up.
Right. And then to Mara, go ahead. Were you going to say something or just laughing?
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, like we were taught, man. Be honest, be brief, be seated.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And even with the lead, I mean, our leads aren't much longer than that. They may go 20 minutes or
Right.
25 at the most. So,
Right.
it was
Well,
a
like Joe used to say, our sponsor, anything over 20 minutes is bullshit.
right. Which, I mean, it is. And we had so many people with, 30, 40, and Ray, 50 plus years of sobriety got up there and led
Mm-hmm.
for, 20 or 25 minutes. And we got more out of it than we
Mm-hmm.
had from any lead
Mm.
that went for a fucking hour, from anyone else.
Right.
So,
Oh yeah. Right.
but yeah, so Mara comes up to me at one point and she's like, how do you like everything? And I said, oh, it's good. And she said, oh, you wouldn't tell me if it wasn't. And I said, no. I said, actually, the complete opposite, because
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing. And I'm like, I've done enough, like, not that it's like the work stuff that I've done, but sort of, you're doing
Mm-hmm.
training, or you're doing this or you're doing that, whatever it is. And
Mm-hmm.
you want it to be, good for the recipient, whatever that is.
Right.
And if it's not, you want the feedback. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I can't fix anything unless I know about it. They wouldn't be able
Absolutely.
to fix anything unless they knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only thing I said to her, I said, to begin with, I said I thought that the time frame between the actual groups and discussions and steps like that, it seemed kind of
Mm-hmm.
long, until it wasn't. And
Right.
there was one group that I sat in on, and one of the individuals had this person had an issue that they wanted to get
Mm-hmm.
out, and they even
Mm-hmm.
said, they're like, hey, I know this is going to be a little off topic, but they're like, come on, lay it on us.
Right.
And rather than having 40 minutes or something like that till the next one, we had like 15 minutes, because it
Mm-hmm.
ran long, but it was a really fucking good discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. Just
Right.
open and raw, and I know that it helped this person, because that
Mm-hmm.
person said so afterwards.
Right.
That person thanked everyone that was in the group, and
Mm-hmm.
thank you very much for listening, and the person's like, this is so great. And again, to be able to share like that openly, and like you said, it's just a bunch of us, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
it was. It was great. It was wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one of my best experiences of the weekend was this guy who was actually ended up being in a couple of the groups I was in, because we had the discussion. A speaker would get up and talk about whatever step they were assigned, and then we'd break off into groups, and there'd be 6 or 7 of us,
Right.
something like that, in the groups, and we'd go around to discuss what we just discussed. And yeah, this guy, he actually the first night after we did the first step, he kind of cornered me afterwards, and was talking to me, because I need to be cornered to be talked to. And and we just kind of blah 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 blah, and I was like, okay, yeah, this guy's got some issues going on, whatever. But I talked to him, and it was fine. And then he ended up in the groups, and actually he was one of the guys when we all met in the dining room at the end of the weekend. And we said our goodbyes and stuff, and they opened up and said, hey, does anybody have anything they want to say before we go our separate ways? And he was one of the guys that stood up and just thanked everybody for being there, and it really helped him and all that stuff, and it was cool. And I remember we were doing the 11th step. I got in the group with him after the 11th step, and he was, talking. He's got like 2 years sober, and he was struggling, and at one point, he was actually sitting next to me in this group. At one point, he said, I feel like a fraud. And dude, I just turned and looked at him. I said, we all do. It's okay, man. We're all fucking frauds. This is not our normal, regular way to live. It's all right, man. We fake it till we make it. And he just kind of went, oh, okay. Yeah. It was great. It was great.
And that's the other thing too. So it was kind of like I don't know. I've been in meetings before where there's a wide range of sobriety, but usually it's heavy on one end, either heavy on the newcomer end or heavy on
Sure.
on the long term sobriety. There's probably people there with, well, no, I can't even say that. I was going to say with thinner on the long term, but I'm thinking of a handful of people right off the top of my head. So, I mean,
Right.
one gentleman had 40. When we had the open meeting,
Mhm.
that lady that came in from the outside,
Yeah.
44 years.
Right.
The guy that was our kind of running the whole thing with Mara, I think he's got 24, 20 something.
Something like that. 24, 27, something like that. Yeah.
One of the speakers who was up there, I think when she did step 12, because she was in a couple of the groups that I was in, she had 27 years.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people in there that were, I know a couple of people I ran across, it's a few weeks, it's a month, it's 6 months. A lot of people in that under.
Well, no, the newest one was 4 months.
Oh, was it?
When we had the open meeting, they did the countdown thing, and he got the book. Yeah, that was the least amount of sobriety at this weekend was 4 months.
Was it? I thought there was one guy that was under 30 days. No,
I don't think so.
Okay.
Nope.
So, and again, I mean, I'll admit that I could easily be wrong. I don't fucking know. There was a lot of information doled out. Let's go with 4 months.
Absolutely.
So 4 months though to 44 years, and
right. Yep.
Everywhere in between, and it was cool because I mean some of these folks that were talking like that, and kind of like to your point, not necessarily saying those words that they felt like they were a fraud, but you can tell that there was some of that hesitation, and like the one individual that again kind of opened up through this whole thing, and I forget what it was that that person was talking about, but I just said, hey, I said, it's no big deal. I said, I'm 13 and a half years sober, and I just felt that, 2 weeks ago. And this person looked at me like, are you fucking kidding me? And to begin with, I wasn't sure if that was like amazement or, like, oh my God, I've got to deal with this with 13 years also. But it was comfort. It was comforting to this person because they said that they're like, holy shit, that makes me feel better because, kind of like we're all literally all in the same boat.
Yes, we are.
Time matters. We say that all the time, but we still have to work every single day. We're walking up a down escalator. Every single one of us. We've just been walking for longer.
Right. Same fucking escalator though.
Yeah. You got the dude with 4 months next to us, and the chick with 44 years on the other side, and yeah, we're all just walking the same fucking escalator. But so all of that was good, and the groups were good, and then we went out to dinner. What, 26 or 27 of us went to that hibachi place, and then
we did.
That was a lot of fun because doing all that stuff, they organized everything, and then the guy breaks out the fucking bottle of sake. Oh, sake for you! And like, you right away you're like, no sake for anyone. You're like, no sake for anyone. Yeah, it was just.
Yeah, I could tell he was a bit taken aback at first. Yeah, the hibachi chef, right? Because that's part of the show, right? They squirt sake in people's mouths, and we were all like, "Nope, no thanks, none for us, thank you."
Yeah, and
of course I used my line, "You don't have enough."
I think I did. I had my SoberNotMature shirt on that night too.
Right? Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, I did have that shirt on, but that was funny too because people kept coming up. They're like, I love the shirt. And I told you I was walking down the hallway the one time, and one this chick behind, she's like, hey, SoberNotMature, and I thought she saw the front. And she's like, no, I just saw it on your back, and I'm like, God, I forgot I have it on the back of our shirts. But a lot of people were asking us about the podcast. Mara talked about it. We had posted in in the Facebook group on it anyhow. But then,
Mhm.
at the end, when we were kind of saying our wrap ups and our goodbyes and stuff like that at the lunch,
Right.
we were able to, which I'm happy that we were able to do that.
Mhm.
Had a bag full of pens and wristbands and business cards for people, and people grabbed a bunch of them. And whether
They
or not
did.
they ever listened to it, it doesn't matter. That we were able to give
Mhm.
something back to people, which I thought was, I mean, that's also the point, So.
Mhm.
So what the one thing that and I didn't hear the beginning of the conversation, but what day was that with Jesus Boy? Was that that's no first of all,
That was
go ahead.
it was Sunday morning. It was the Lord's Day.
Yes. And first of all, I want to make this really clear. This guy was not part of our group because
He was not.
I didn't know that right away, but I think you did. So how did the
Uh-huh.
conversation even start off? The dude sits down, and then I was up, of course, getting more food because that's what I do.
Mhm.
So how did
Oh God, I don't know. He just like literally started tearing into me. Well, let's make it known on the back of my car, I have a bumper sticker that says "Hail Satan," and I have that there because I like to make people think. It's the only reason I have it there. I'm
right?
an atheist. It's all made up. I don't believe in either side. But yeah, I have it to make people think,
Right.
and piss people off and whatever. Because I'm still not completely well.
Right.
And anyway, and we couldn't smoke anywhere on the property. If I wanted a cigarette, I had to sit in my car. So apparently, he had seen me get out of my car, and he just started tearing into me, And I mean, not what the original question is usually something about, is that, and I said, look, I just looked at him. I said, look, it's all made up, and I don't believe in any of it. It's fine. And that usually shuts people up.
Right.
Not this guy. He was going to save me, and yeah, good luck with that. So and it was just, and actually when I came in, I knew there was another group there, because when we came in to the dining hall for breakfast, some guy that wasn't, there was a church group. There is a church in this facility, and apparently they have like a service or whatever on Sunday morning, I'm guessing. So, I'm standing in line, and this guy turns around and he's all, so what brings you here? And, and I'm all, alcohol and drugs. That shut him up. So that was fine. But I knew there was outsiders. And anyway, this guy, and he just, started like, what the hell did he say?
Demonic came
How's
up.
it? Yeah, that was, you should go all the way with it. That was the one. I almost went over the table. If I had a little more coffee in me, I probably would have. Yeah, he said, why don't you try the blood sacrifice? I so wanted to say, are you volunteering? Because we could do this right now. But I didn't. I was a good boy, and I just let him go. But yes, anyway, he really had a problem with anyone that didn't think the way that he thinks and believe the way that he believes, and I felt sorry for him in the end.
Right.
And I mean, a couple of people caught it. Bill just finally turned to the dude and said, "Hey, man, I'm trying to enjoy my breakfast here." And that kind of shut him up. So yeah.
Yeah, he got pissy because he's going back and forth, and I mean, I don't need to defend you. I mean, you don't
No.
need my help. But
Right.
I could tell you were being far more kind than you needed to be. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
missed the beginning of the conversation when I sat down. I think
Right.
I got part of it, and then the demonic thing. I heard the alcohol and drugs, or drug addicts and alcoholics, whatever you said.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then he kept going on and on. And I turned to him, I'm like, why don't we just sit here and enjoy our breakfast? He's like, I'm enjoying my
Mm-hmm.
breakfast. I'm like, well, then just eat or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like,
He was
Jesus.
very angry.
Yeah.
And yeah,
But
it
that's
was,
that's when I said, we're trying to enjoy our breakfast quietly, and we're going to reflect. And then you started fucking laughing because I'm like, okay, listen here, Jesus boy, boom, there's right up your fucking ass. Which again,
Right.
nothing wrong with it. If you're a God person or an organized religion person, we don't have any problem with you. Just this dude
No.
it's like, okay, if we didn't like Brussels sprouts, and this dude was trying to shove Brussels sprouts down our throat, that was kind of that was the same thing, you know.
Yes, it was.
Right off the bat, I don't eat Brussels sprouts, but why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Here, take them, take them, take them, take them, take them.
Right.
So
because they're not good for me.
right. Because I don't like how they taste. I don't like how they whatever. But it just yeah. And then a couple people later that day came up. There was the one dude that spoke. I think it was on step 11 or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and he came up.
Yeah,
to you.
well, he'd come by in the middle of it and
Right.
patted me on the back because he saw what was going on. Right.
Yeah, he said something like that, like, yeah, you control or compose yourself, whatever it was. And then a few people heard about that, and I was like, damn, yeah. And then that dude walked in when we were wrapping up, because we had from like noon till 12:30, and then again, the gentleman was helping to run things with Mara, was trying to wrap everything up, and
right.
you know, then they start piling in, and I see him walking in, and I'm like, hey, there's Jesus boy, because that's of course what he got called after that was Jesus boy. So,
well, of course, right.
Which again, you know what? Everyone out there, just like we do our own thing, do your own thing, man. But I don't like to be forced that shit. Anything, you know, just. One question. You could have just sat down. The dude that was sitting across the table from us, like to your left, when I first sat down, I didn't recognize him. I thought maybe it was just a guy I hadn't met yet. So I introduced myself. So he must have been part of that group too. He just sat there and kept his mouth shut. You know, when the shit started going back and forth, he got up and walked away. He's probably like, man, I don't know this fucking shit, you know?
Yeah, you know, it was fine. As Morrow had commented on something in the group, and I commented back, you know what, I employed the principles that I was taught, and I was a good boy, and yes, because if I'd have handled it the way I handled it, I would have gone over the table, and there would have been a blood sacrifice.
Right. Which again, none of us need that today. So you know,
nah.
Then I would ended up holding the fucker down while you hit him, and then we both would end up in jail. And I don't want to do that.
It is a wee program.
It is. And that's the thing. You know, I know you don't need my help, and you didn't need my help to defend you, but I was getting tired of hearing him flapping his mouth. So I'm just like, God damn, dude. Let's just eat. Fuck it. Done.
Right.
All right. So why don't we take a break after our Jesus boy conversation?
Yes.
So.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll be back after these words from our sponsor.
Hey everyone, it's your friends at Sober Not Mature.
Hi there.
And yes, it's both of your friends this time. Hi Mike, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Bill?
I am doing well, but we do have a purpose. We actually usually talk about our one website, but we actually have two websites now. So two websites in one. All right, so everyone knows we still have the podcast website that is www.SoberNotMature.com. And we just launched the store website, so we also have that. Do you know what the website address is on that one, Mike?
Of course I don't.
It's pretty easy, Mike. It's www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. So but from the podcast website, you can still hit the store link and get into the web store, or you can access it from our Instagram page through the highlights. We've been posting quite a bit about it, and we'll continue to do that. But do you know what's on the second website, Mike?
Well, there's a store. There are products that you can purchase for you and your loved ones.
Well, Mike, do we still have merchandise?
We have merchandise. Well, we got T-shirts and coffee mugs and all kinds of crap.
And one of the coolest parts, we also do have all the recovery books from Hazelden, which is kind of a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Yeah, at least for us. So all the books that we read, God Grant Me, 24 Hours, the Big Book, the 12 and 12, all of those books are available for sale on our website. And once again, that store website is www.sober.
Trying to help, man.
I know you are. You're not helping, though. Okay, now I got to say www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. .com. Visit that today, or visit the podcast website, which is, again, the podcast website. So
www.SoberNotMature.com.
Did you just say sober but not mature?
Yeah, I'm sure. Write that down.
Yeah, like fucking mush mouth or something. All right, everyone. You've suffered enough with this, and we'll get back to what we were talking about previously. So visit the websites, though. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the non-Jesus Boys and our non-Jesus Boy gratitude episode. Hello.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I did that real basically because, I could have had all kinds of things to say, but I didn't say them.
I know you kind of caught me off guard. I'm like, oh wait, not that it. Only thing I ever do during the breaks, I mark down the time because again, let's get a little window to the things that we do. I mark down the time so I know where to look for it to cut the episode. And I was like, fuck,
let's look behind the curtain.
I was like, fuck, what time was it? Oh, there it is. There it is. So, anything else on the weekend? I mean, with the exception of the fact that I wrote one thing down here.
Yeah.
So the one individual. So Mike and I only ended up in one group because basically it was poker chips. So everyone picked the numbers. So you could get into different groups, which was cool. Because you get to experience a lot of different people, which is the point.
Right.
And I'm glad
right.
I've been in meetings like that before where they used to have people count off in either 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, and then you break off into groups that way. Which is nice because again you get a mixture. But.
Yeah.
So Mike and I were in one group. I don't remember after what step, but the one individual was talking about. She said that the way that she looks at starting her day or her sobriety is that, and she's, I think she's a year or two sober.
Mm-hmm.
She's young-ish in the program,
right?
But she said waking up every day, she looks at herself as though she's at the edge of a cliff, and then then with every piece of recovery that she does, she backs away from the cliff, so which I'm a huge visual person. And both of us you commented on it first. You're like, I like that. I'm like, that's great, because again, being visual. So picture this, again, you start off your day when you wake up and like we do our readings and all that stuff. So with every word, with every reading, rather than, toes at the edge of the cliff, basically ready to fall, we slowly back away. But then she goes, then at the end of the night, I go away and I'm like, I can't even see the edge of the cliff. But then I wake up the next morning, right at the edge of the cliff again.
Yep. It was great.
Yeah, we all got a good laugh out of that because it is. I mean, it's what a perfect visualization of how this thing that we do works,
and great visualization analogy of yes, we wake up in the morning and all that shit we did yesterday to get away from the edge of the cliff, we open our eyes and we're right fucking back there again. Right. Yeah, we got to remember that.
I know. And that's why again, being visual like I am, I'm like, man, that is perfect. And I hope that I never forget that because things like that, usually again, visual things I'll hang on to, kind of like the escalator thing, but it was great. That was just one of the many things that we heard, but I actually made a note of that because I wanted to share that with everyone. And
yeah, definitely. I'm glad you did.
Yeah. Yet again, another thing that we have now stolen. And I think I told her I was going to steal that, but that's what we do in this thing, right?
Well, I definitely had, it's in my pocket now and it's not going anywhere.
Right. Yeah. It's good. So anything else on the retreat at all?
No, just, again, I was not looking particularly forward to it. And now I'm looking forward to going back in June.
Right. Oh, so you're looking, when is that? Is that?
It's the end of May. It's the last weekend of May. I think the Sunday is June 1st this year. Yeah. So next year, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, I think so. I mean, they have one in March too. I'm definitely not doing that, but I think so.
Yeah, that's and that was one, and that was the only thing that I told Mara, and this was not a complaint, but so this whole facility is right on the lake. It's right on Lake Erie.
Yeah.
And when we got there on Friday, I mean, it was a little chilly, but then I mean, there was like
no, it was blowing and raining, and it was nasty out. Yeah,
and that's the thing. There was rain, and then like 20 to 30 mile an hour winds coming right off the lake. It was uncomfortable.
Yes, it was.
And still a little chilly while we were there, but I told her, I'm like, if I came back to one of those things, I would, nothing wrong with that one in November, but I would rather come back to a warm weather one, because it would just be so nice. And I've become now a huge fan of sitting outside and doing my readings and sitting by water and all those sort of things. I just think it would add just another element to the weekend, being in the warm weather. So yeah, June, and that should be that might actually be the weekend before Founders Day, I would think, right?
2 weeks, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, I suppose
Because
if
Founders Day is like the 14th. I think the actual date that Bill and Bob met each other was the 14th. So,
was it okay?
yeah. So it's usually that weekend, whatever's closest to it. The second week. Founders Day is the second weekend in
Okay.
June.
Okay. So yeah, not that it matters, but I was just trying to figure out
Mm-hmm.
in my head. But yeah, I'd like
Yeah.
to go back too. It was fun. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun, and yeah. So hey, if Gary's listening, so do we have to tell him he was right? When Gary told us that we were gonna, kind of become, I don't want to say addicted, that we're addicted to him now, but that we're really gonna enjoy him. We keep wanting to go back.
Mm.
do we have to admit that to Gary or no?
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay. All right, Gary. So how about this, Gary? You may have been correct. We've only been to one.
Mm-hmm.
If we end up going
Right.
to a lot more in the future, then at that point we'll say for sure you were right. Okay, there. That's as much as we're given at this point. But so
Right.
yeah, like I said, anything else with that or?
No, just I mean, if you are part of this 12-step thing, don't wait 13 and a half years to go to something like that, because it was pretty damn good.
Right.
I know I definitely was pretty damn recharged after that. Of course I crashed and burned a couple days later and was really pissed off, but that's just my balance in my life thing. I was way too high up. I had to be a nasty person for a day or so. But yep, now I'm back to just being sick,
Right.
so it's fine.
But yeah, and think about that. If in 13 years or 40 years or 2 years, I think that going in early recovery, I think would have been hugely beneficial for something like that.
Definitely.
And I mean, again, not that we've done something right, but I just think that would have been another really nice tool to have in our little toolbox earlier in recovery than 13 and a half years.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We don't do this thing perfectly.
Right.
But we do it.
Yeah. Listen to us for the jokes. That's what we're here for. Not necessarily all the great advice. All right. So, the audiobook, Matthew Perry's audiobook. I don't think this is going to take a ton of time unless you got a lot of input on it. But so I started listening to it on my way up to Appleton and back a couple weeks ago, and then listened to the rest of it between the trip out to the retreat and back. And the book, I think, it's 8 or 9 hours, as far as the audiobook, which is pretty normal. I think Dave Grohl's book was probably that too. It is read by Matthew Perry. And the thing that was interesting to me, though, just like this is kind of a side note on that, to begin with, when he started to read it, I was like, his voice, he almost sounds slurry a little bit, but which is weird. But I'm like, okay, but I guess at the end of all said and done, he was talking a lot about being 53 and that sort of thing. So at the time that he recorded this, had to be within less than the last 2 years, and I think the book came out a year ago. So
yeah, a little more. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever, he was 53-ish. I don't remember what his birthday was or when the recording was, but basically, at the time he was reading this, apparently, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it sounds like he was sober at the time he did this. So that could have been true that he was, at least at that point he was sober. But the book starts out, and this is kind of like sets up the entire book. And I was shaking my head at the beginning of it after the story. So when you were little, when I was little, I never flew alone. But by the time Kimmy got to the point when Pam and I, my ex, split up, I used to fly her back and forth to Ohio every once in a while when I was out there back and forth, this and that, the whole unaccompanied minor thing, and it was fine. We drop her off. One, a person, named person would drop her off, named person picked her up. She's with somebody, the whole thing. I'll have to ask her, but I think she used to enjoy the shit out of it,
Right.
Probably when she was, 6, 7, 8 years old, somewhere in that area. So Matthew Perry did that. He was talking about his, first of all, his dad was the Old Spice guy. I didn't know that.
Right.
And then he married, his mom ended up being this right-hand person to somebody in the Canadian government. I can't remember what this, ambassador, prime minister, blah blah blah. So she was a big deal. Dad was an actor, and this and that, blah blah blah, all this stuff. But he described them as very beautiful people. They got together young. They didn't stay together much, and then his dad left, and then they were in Canada, and that's how that part started. So dad ended up in California, mom still in Canada with him. So he would fly back and forth to see his dad as an unaccompanied minor. So he's telling this story about these flights. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm remembering my daughter, but he's talking about it like he had this whole abandonment thing from, at that age from flying alone. And in my head, I'm like, really?
All right.
But it was like he'd see the lights of this, and then he'd get mad because he's like, "Why are they just leaving me? Why are they doing this? Why can't somebody just drive up and get me?" And he said that he almost named the book "Unaccompanied Minor," and I'm like, "Wow, really?" So this is right at the beginning. All throughout the book, he keeps referring back to this story, about him. I'm not good enough. I've never been wanted. I still feel like an unaccompanied minor. And I'm like, damn. Okay. So there's this, and again, he's 53 when he's recording this, but talking about these stories all the way through. So that's just a side note. That's where all this stuff is, kind of, I don't want to say littered through, but, sprinkled through the entire book. He, through the entire book, in my opinion, never seemed to be humbled at all. And it was almost uncomfortable, because just as he's talking about these different things and just he'd throw in things about his material items that were unnecessary, in my opinion, for his story. And that's where I got the thing about, again, he worked really hard to get where he was. I don't take that away from him.
Sure.
Put in his dues, was in the right place at the right time, but also worked really hard to get in the right place at the right time. So in my opinion, he deserved the breaks that he got because he made those breaks for himself. So, but he'd sit there and talk about it. He's like, oh, as I'm sitting here in my $20 million apartment in wherever, or he was at this bad moment he was having in his bedrooms, but he goes, I'm looking at my automatic blinds, and I'm like, do you really have to say that they're automatic blinds? Because that means they're, that means money. And then he'd be talking about, well, I was driving my green Porsche, and I was driving this, or, I had all these nice cars. I don't even remember what kind of cars I had, and these things were sprinkled again throughout the entire thing. So, the humility thing doesn't seem like he ever got a handle on. Then this is the other thing that he said. This was quite a few times. I can handle being sober until something happens, until anything happens. And I'm like, fuck me, And I'm like, that's not a good thing, right?
Right.
So, but he did say, like we were talking about a couple episodes ago, whereas like you made the point of saying that you can't give away something you don't have. He acknowledges that throughout the book, and saying that he goes, God, he goes, at this time, he goes, I've got sponsees that have far more time than I do, that type of thing. So that's the part. Here's the other part that was just weird. When he talks about the founders of Alcoholics, or the founding of Alcoholics Anonymous, he only mentions Bill Wilson. Never mentions Dr. Bob. And he talks about it a couple of times. That I just thought was kind of like tilting my head going, huh?
Right. Well, I think that's a wonderful example of how he was working this thing. He was only working half of it.
Right. And
yeah.
And it was weird, or, because I'm in my head, I'm like, did he only identify with Bill Wilson and how he was and his egotistical and that type of character? Because Bill was. Bill was a fucking, Bill's a fucking egotist. We can all admit that.
Absolutely. Right.
And,
and he even admitted it. So, right.
So, sorry, drink a coffee. I thought you were going to say more than that.
Yeah. I was actually taking a drink of something too. I'm trying to keep my throat lubricated so I don't hack into this microphone.
All right.
And I did anyway.
And you don't feel well, so I'm not going to say anything about you lubricating your throat. So go ahead.
Good. Thank you. I appreciate that. As long as you're not the one doing the lubrication.
Right.
Anyway, so, but yeah, it does sound like it. And it sounds like you never got over the better than, worse than thing that we all need to get over, because we all are better than others and we all are worse than others. And, a big part of this program is learning how to admit that we're exactly the same as others. you know, to one degree or another. I mean, I still work on that all the time. You know, I'm better than that asshole, or I'm not as good as that asshole, or yeah. And it sounds like he never got anywhere near that, which is sad. And again, that's probably why it didn't work for him.
Right. And I think that I don't think anyone's under the illusion that either one of us are perfect at this thing. We just said that,
Mm,
a couple of minutes ago.
right.
And I'm no fucking expert, but I can listen to an alcoholic that seems to have a decent alcoholic or drug addict, because he was definitely into both.
Hmm.
But
Right.
I can listen to one of us. We've been around this thing long enough, and I can hear somebody.
Uh-huh.
I can hear the things that kind of again make you just go. If it makes
Hmm.
me uncomfortable, then I'm not saying that somebody's doing something wrong. It's just maybe
Mm.
they're kind of skewing off and sliding off this path. And he admittedly, I mean,
Hmm.
he said that. I think he said that he was in detox. It was some ungodly amount of 60 times or something like that, or
Oh yeah. Right. Right.
and
Right.
talked about that's the other thing. So he talked about the millions of dollars he spent in rehab, which I think part of that's like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, I want to know that. But then he talk about
Mm.
some trauma in his life, and he's like, well, that cost me, $3 million to figure out. Again, that's he throwing out dollars
Mm.
and cents and stuff like that. And
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm just like, it's that's not the point. The fact that you had a ton of fucking money is irrelevant. um,
Hmm.
the fact that he, what they did, and the salaries they made on Friends, he talked about those sort of things. That was all fucking public
Mm.
knowledge. Everyone knows that.
Right.
Well, anyone who's read
Right.
anything about Friends knows that they were making $1 million plus an episode. So
Hmm.
and you could look up what his net worth was and all that stuff. He just seemed to really focus on that. But yeah, to your point,
Hmm.
I didn't think about that with the Bill Wilson thing. That they working half of this thing.
Right. You need to acknowledge the entire program, otherwise it doesn't work.
Right.
Something about half measures.
Availed us nothing, I think, or something like that.
Hmm. Something like that. Or exactly like
Yeah,
that.
exactly like that. So then here's the thing. So through this whole, okay, now I had heard a little bit about the health issues, but man, you talk about the health issues that he had related to and outside of, alcohol
Hmm.
and drug use. I mean, again, he had his colon explode, from the
Mm.
opiates, that he was taking so
Good
much. Oh
times.
yeah, it's
Yeah, right.
fucking messed up,
Well, yeah, yeah. You can't shit when you're doing that
Yeah,
stuff. Yep.
yeah, it was in
Blocks you up.
colostomy bag, the whole fucking bit. He went through a
Oof.
bunch of shit. I mean, it was terrible.
Yeah.
But then he said, and this was he quit smoking finally. Like it must have been around the time that he was recording this. He was a 3-pack a day
Hmm.
smoker, which I didn't know that.
Oof.
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah, because he was saying,
Thought I smoked a lot.
well, because he was saying, he goes, was trying to cut down to, at one point he was trying to cut down because of this health thing. So he laid down
Mm.
at night one time and he heard like this wheezing, and he went into the doctor
Mm.
and they were told him like, okay, so you've been smoking for all these years, blah, blah, blah. You need to quit like yesterday type of thing, So
Right.
then
Right.
he had problems with that, so, and basically they were telling him like, if you don't quit, you're going to die. Okay. So, and
Hmm.
he even mentioned in that part of this process, he's like, okay, so, I could end up with, an oxygen tank or on oxygen, this and that. That's no way to live. And he said, or he
Mm.
goes, if I keep doing this, he goes, if I have a heart attack and nobody's around, he goes, I'm a goner. And I'm like, holy fuck, that's what
Hmm.
happened.
Hmm.
So then I'm like, okay, so supposedly he quit smoking, then was vaping, and then like, no, you got to get off of all of it. So at the end in his wrap up, he's saying thank you to everyone and all the stuff that he's grateful for. He's throwing out all his gratitude shit, and he was able to get over the drugs, able to get over the alcohol, the smoking, and the people that helped him, and blah blah blah. So at least at that time frame, again, a couple of years ago at the most,
Hmm.
apparently he was off all that shit, but.
Right.
I mean, he had the lung thing, he had, this colon thing, he had all these different things. It could be he may or may not relapse, but I mean, again, all these different things, I don't know if he was smoking more because he was drinking and using. Most of us do,
Hmm.
I mean,
Right.
I smoked for years, but as I sat there, if I drank, I smoked more. I always did.
Oh
I think
yeah.
everyone does, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, we do. Hey, throw some speed in there, man. Smoke like a chimney.
See, I never got the pleasure of experiencing that. And I said, "There's my air quote
Yes, you
pleasure
did.
of experiencing that." But so the thing with it is, I have no regrets in listening to it. I'm glad I did. I learned some
Mhm.
things.
Right.
It's always, and I wasn't looking for years ago, what I would have listened to this for is like, okay, what do I not do so I don't end up like Matthew Perry,
Mm-hmm.
or look at how great I'm doing. I'm not doing things like Matthew Perry did, but it wasn't that. It
Mm-hmm.
was just I was it's just kind of like take it in. We take in all this knowledge. No bad
Right.
examples, and I'm still a Y person, and it's interesting to know the type of program that he worked in and all those different things. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you think about that. I mean, there's so many people. Granted, he hit a lot of this stuff. He was, drinking on the
Mm-hmm.
side, using on the side, doing all these different things, like all of us do.
Right.
But even in the points when he was doing that, all these different people, and it just, I wonder if he just got to the point when he was doing this book that he was just honest about it and all his basically lack of humility and only maybe working half the program, if he
Mm-hmm.
inadvertently was just honest. You know what I mean? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
accidentally,
Yeah, exactly.
you know.
That'll happen occasionally.
I know, and I'm sure that they're. I mean, take us for example. I don't think we've necessarily been. Thankfully, haven't maybe been more honest on here than we would
Mm.
off. Not in front of a mic, but I know that we've been more
Mm-hmm.
open about stuff. We've talked about things. We've had
Mm-hmm.
these revelations and all that sort of stuff. And you talk long enough, and in like an 8-hour audiobook or a 90-minute podcast every fucking week.
Mm-hmm.
Sooner or later, the shit's going to come out of your mouth, and then you're like, God, did I just say that? But it's all good stuff, but I don't know, it'll be interesting. I'll tell you, it'll be interesting to see what comes back from this. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he had some, God, I mean, the things that he did to his body over the years,
Yeah.
fucking staggering. That's some of those stories. But yeah, like I said, the main things were just didn't seem like he was, like he was humbled. And I didn't even pick up on the
Mm-hmm.
half measures type of thing. But yeah, just
Mm.
it's all interesting. I'd
Right.
highly recommend it to anyone. Even if you're not you don't necessarily have to be a fan of Friends. If you have any interest
Mm.
in the entertainment world or how an actor goes through, that interests me sometimes about
Right.
where people came from and stuff. But even
Mm-hmm.
if you're not a Friends fan or not specifically that, if you're in this type of thing and you went through the stuff that a lot of us go through, it's a good read or a good listen. So I
Right.
but
Yeah. Makes you think.
it does, and kind of makes me
Yeah.
shake my head thinking, damn, just
Mm.
crazy, and again, 54 years old, one way or the other, some portion of this thing got him. However it is, some
Oh, yeah.
portion of this thing got him.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Blowing your ass out's not good for you.
Yeah, and it was.
Write that one down.
Hang on one second. Note. Blowing or blow in is with an apostrophe or an ing?
Yeah, apostrophe.
Okay, blowing your God. I think I feel an episode title, but I don't know. Usually when you say shit like that, it ends up being on the on the episode title. But so any questions? I mean, out of that stuff, I mean, that was the basics of that. I mean, I don't think I got like huge revelations, but the smoking thing was like kind of the big thing for me, surprisingly, through this whole thing. That yeah, I mean, basically, he said that you can have a heart attack and die. Yeah,
right. Yeah, that is a little weird.
I know. So
yeah, well, like the big book says, man, self knowledge is pretty fucking worthless to us.
Right. Yeah,
and apparently had some self knowledge, and it was worthless.
Oh, and the last thing, the Perry House thing, that Sober House thing.
Yeah.
It sounded like that that he sold that off because he wasn't getting the clientele, and it sounded like it was because he had said, he goes, I don't know, he goes, if there's, however he put it, too much out there, this or that, but he said it could have been the cost, because it sounded like it was, which I didn't realize when I read the bit of it, and I think you had read something about that too. I didn't realize it was like a higher end type of rehab, but apparently it was. So I think that they were probably getting trouble trying to get people into beds at however much money they were charging. So, well, and I'm sure he had it's probably a fucking $20 million house that because it was one of his houses.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So
he used to be an addict and now he's not.
right. What was that? That's what's that for?
Passages in Malibu.
I was going to say Malibus, but I'm like, I know it's not Malibus, but passages in Malibu. Okay. So yeah, that's all I know about Matthew Perry. But one way or the other, I think it'll still be interesting, to see how all of that stuff pans out. But
yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not going to affect me one way or another.
Right. Yeah, it was just like I said. It was. I'm not unhappy that I listened to it, but it was
Right.
interesting. It's worth the listen if nothing else. So.
All right.
So we got time.
I'll be checking out the Sober Friends podcast.
Yeah, and once again, I highly recommend that. It's especially again, decoding the big book. You'll see them all the way through
Right.
there.
Yeah.
They're on the newer side of it. So if you're looking at newer to older episodes, it's on the newer side. So
cool.
I was listening to a podcast, and the guest had said that she was told by somebody in a meeting, or maybe it was on social media, that she couldn't refer to herself as sober unless she identified as an alcoholic. And I kind of turned my head, and I'm like, wait a second, what? So
I just cocked my head like a dog. All right, say that again now.
So this lady was a guest on a podcast, and her Instagram handle says like sober lady or whatever it is. So it's got sober in the title. And I think it was somebody on social media said that I think she refers to herself as alcohol free and not as an alcoholic, I think, if I remember correctly. So whoever this person was said that she was unable to refer to herself as sober unless she identified as an alcoholic. And it sounded like it was somebody from a 12-step program that told her that. So the reason I wrote it down, I'm like, have you ever fucking heard such a thing?
No.
Right. And I'm like, wait a second, what page of the big book is that on?
Yeah, right.
It's not, but it just it completely it just blew my mind. I was just like, what? That doesn't even make any sense,
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, okay.
Right.
Words again, terms, right. Yeah. Okay, people, settle down.
I know. Sometimes these things, I write these things down because it bothers me that there's people out there resenting. Yeah, maybe that is resenting.
Yeah, that is.
Representing, the 12-step program that we we hold so dearly to our hearts, and trying to throw shit out like that, and painting all of us with the same brush.
Right.
Yeah, so,
that's our job.
Right.
We paint us all with the same brush.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah. I forgot it.
Yeah.
Now I got something more to be irritated at. Yeah, you fucker. Get your own podcast.
Yeah, get your own fucking brush. This is ours.
Okay, so here was the you know what? Remember when I said that I thought I had something about chaos? Here's I had boredom and recovery and chaos, so let me cross that one off. This is an on the fly type of thing. I had no idea how much time we would spend on these other things, so I was just kind of scanning down through here. Okay, so this one is from Keep It Simple, which that's one that you read now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's it. That's my third in rotation. Getting through my second year.
Oh yeah. So yeah, the one that I read that you don't right now is the book A Day at a Time. That's my fourth. Okay. So this was from whenever. It says, today as I work step 10, so probably in October, I'll focus on my actions. How have I acted sober today? Okay. And the reason I wrote that down and I put parentheses seems like a weird question because it's talking about step 10 and how have I acted sober today? And I don't know. Let's just leave it at that first. You're just straight off the top. What do you think about that? How have I think about that in your step 10 work? How have I acted sober today? Does that seem weird, or do you have thoughts on that?
No, it actually doesn't. I mean, yeah. How have I acted sober? How have I acted like I wouldn't have acted before? Like last Sunday, I didn't leap over the table and snap the Jesus boy neck.
Right.
That's how I acted sober that day. Today I've been laying on the couch and, drinking tea, which I suppose is sober. Yeah, again, how have I acted like differently than I did before I was sober, I think is probably a better way to phrase it. How have I acted today differently than I would have before I was
Right.
sober?
Okay. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I get it now, and it's just I even read it a couple of times now, and it just wasn't making any sense to me because I was thinking about step 10 as far as figuring, the good and the bad, but that's the point is the good that I
Mhm.
did today is because I'm sober, whereas the
Right.
bad goes back to my, hopefully I, admitted things and corrected them and,
Mm-hmm.
promptly admitted and took
Mm-hmm.
care of anything I did shitty today, which,
Right.
again, hopefully I did nothing shitty, but so yeah, it just,
Yeah.
again, a lot of times if it makes me pause for a minute, then I'm like, I'm just gonna write this down. We'll deal with it later. you know, because I'm like, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
think about this one anymore because then I had nothing to talk about. So okay, so that
Right.
makes sense. So it's like, yeah, acting
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah. Right. Acting the way that we were taught to act, not the way that we want to act.
Right. No, and that's I mean that makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. Again, now that I'm
Mm-hmm.
now that I'm again getting your input, that's why I do that.
Right.
All right, so you know what? Let's just do one more.
Okay.
We've been yipping and yapping for a long time, but and I know you still don't feel good.
Mm.
So all right, so
Mm-hmm.
this is from
My feelings don't matter today.
well, you know what? It actually let's let me just step aside here real quick and tell you and the listeners
Yeah.
that I appreciate number one the fact that you were able to do this or that you did do it. And I know your commitment and our commitment and all that. So I mean, we commit to
Mm-hmm.
it. And let's take a side note on that. So fuck everyone else out there that takes a hiatus and a break. And my friend Mike over there doesn't feel good.
Uh-huh.
Ended up
Right.
missing Thanksgiving because he didn't feel good and
That's
he's
right.
here trying to please you motherfuckers. Okay, so
Yeah, take that,
yeah,
assholes.
yeah. Okay, so back to my original side note, which I forgot. So we'll forget that. Okay, so this is from another reading, but this is from the book that I read a day at a time. So the
Mm-hmm.
reading talked about pride, called it the root sin. Do you feel that pride is a problem for you on a regular basis, and how do you deal with it? And first of all, the root sin, we talk about fear all the time being like the root
Mm-hmm.
problem. Do you consider
Right.
like our pride to be like the root sin? I guess let's do that first.
Right. No.
Okay.
No. I mean, other than it kind of encompasses the selfishness and
Okay.
self-centeredness to a degree, but just by itself, no. Because I mean, there are things that I have healthy pride about today, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with being proud of your accomplishments. It's being prideful of things that you had nothing to fucking do with, which
Right.
we did all the time. I know I did. So yeah, but no, being the I mean, again, right there in the big book, black and white, man. The root of our troubles is selfishness and self-centeredness. The root of our sins, the root of everything is my selfishness. Yeah, and it kind of rolls into it, but not really.
Right.
I have that healthy pride today. I am proud of this thing. I'm proud of my sobriety. I'm proud of being a better person than I was 13 years ago. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I got to remember that, what I did yesterday doesn't fucking count for today. Waking up, being on the edge of that cliff, but
Right.
but yeah, no, absolutely not. It's not the root of my sins. No,
Right.
no, no, no. The root of my sins is my unhealthy obsession with myself.
Right. Yeah, and it's just like I said, I like that reading. Every once in a while I have, just kind of I don't know. It doesn't always go off in a weird direction, but all of them do. Every once in a while I have these little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, really pride? I don't know the pride is a root sin, but I get it. It's a problem like you said, being prideful, taking credit for or trying to take credit for things we had nothing to do
Mm.
with. I get all that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean there's a huge difference between, pride and ego, you know, and even
Mm-hmm.
a certain amount of ego is healthy as long as you're not egotistical,
Sure.
I mean, we
Right.
have to feel good about ourselves. If we don't feel good about ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what the fuck is the point of doing this? I mean,
Exactly.
what's it going to doing anything if you don't feel good about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right. Oh yeah. you know, and I mean, to the point of trying to take credit for things we didn't have anything to do with. You know, when I have a birthday anymore, I mean, seriously, the last 10 years or something, probably more. I don't fucking care about my birthday. I don't. You know, Chris, my girlfriend, she's like, you know, "Oh, it's your birthday." I'm like, I don't fucking care. I had nothing to do with it. You know, my dad left it in. Big fucking deal. I didn't have a goddamn thing to do with it. I celebrate April 22nd. That's something I can be proud of, and that's something to celebrate. My February 18th doesn't mean shit to me anymore. You know, it used to be, I mean, my old behaviors was, you know, my birthday week, my birthday month, you know. I mean, it's the way I was, and I'm not anymore. I don't fucking care about my birthday anymore because I had nothing to do with it.
Right.
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about. I know you and I have talked about. I'm sure I said it on here. I've got the my top three about days that I care about throughout the year. My anniversary is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Father's Day is the second one.
Right.
And these are things that I'm like with my kids. I said if I want to do something with you guys on my birthday. I just want to have lunch with you. That's all. Because
Sure.
it's that's my celebration. I don't want or need gifts. I don't need anyone to make a big fucking deal out of it because I don't care. And it's not because I care about
Right.
getting another year older. I don't give a fuck anymore. I just don't,
Nah.
But my anniversary is hugely, same thing you said, it's hugely important to me. And in Father's Day, I like to be acknowledged because, that's something that I lost with my daughter for years. I mean, I lost the right to be her father, and then, my son, I could have lost it and I wasn't the best dad to him, but now, I think I kind of have my shit together on a daily basis. And, I think my kids kind of dig me every once in a while. So,
Right.
I at least acknowledge and say, hey, happy Father's Day. Same deal. I don't want or need a gift. I don't need anything special. I would love to get together and same thing, have lunch with them, And my anniversary, I made my son take me out to lunch on my anniversary.
Yeah, there you
one
go.
year.
You're buying on this day, boy.
Yep. I said, hey, why don't you take me out to lunch for my anniversary, man? And he did. He did.
Nice.
I don't remember when that was. Probably it might have been a handful of years ago, but yeah, he's again, my kids are good kids, and I mean they do all the right things most of the time, and but like you said that, yeah, I mean birthdays, that was the funniest thing you said that. I think when we were talking about that was our anniversary episode the first year that you had said that about. Yeah, we were talking about birthdays or important dates, and anniversary, same deal, was our important dates. And then you're like, yeah, my dad just left it in, and hopefully my mom let him.
One can hope.
That was the follow up to that. So yeah, but okay, well I think we're good. I think we're good. We still have We have guests, so everyone knows we have guests on for the next 2 weeks. We have Nicholas. Take a look at Instagram. You'll be able to see a little bit about him. And then we have our friend Mara the week after that. And then the week after that, it's our Mexican episode.
It is. Thank Christ, man. I fucking need it.
Right. So, but yeah, we still got to get to Megan's questions. I have a bunch of those on here too.
No, that's cool. Yeah. Oh, speaking of people that listen to this show, I almost forgot because my head is in a bubble right now. But Cameron's been listening to the show. He was very grateful that we we mentioned the other day, and apparently he rides around in the car with his daughters listening to the show, which I don't know if that's the best idea in the world, but but anyway, I've been in their lives, few years now, and so I wanted to say, because they listen and they were very excited to find that they've been listening, they didn't realize it was me. he listens to the show and they're like, wait, that's GP, that's what the grandkids call me. And yes, so I have to say a very special hello to Rainin and Ollie. Hi there. You're listening to us on the radio. How you doing, girls? Okay, I'm done.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Like you said, maybe not the best thing in the world.
Well, I know. Well, not my job to judge.
Yeah. Well, at least for the next maybe minute, we won't say the F word, but young ladies, close your ears for this last portion, though. So
exactly.
All right, I think we're done. So it's your turn.
It is my turn. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to yet another episode of Sober Not Mature. As always, be kind to each other, be good to each other, be grateful for what you have. Do something nice for somebody else this week and don't tell anybody about it. And now it is that time, kids. It's that time you've been waiting for, and more importantly, the time I've been waiting for. It is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off till you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate. Dream the impossible dream and keep fucking off forever.
All right. And you know what? I think that's funny. I mute now when you do that because I literally laughed out loud when you said, yeah, the time I've been waiting for. But yeah, I mute now on purpose because, again, give you a nice clean out on that. And you don't need me interrupting you at that point. I interrupt you enough throughout this fucking thing. So yeah, we're still pretty good at that. I mean, we don't talk over each other too much, but yeah, I don't know. It still happens every once in a while. But anyhow, you know what? I think we did some good work here tonight. What do you?
We did something.
I can't get this fucking lying shit out of my mouth. Yeah, we did some good work here tonight. We did not. All right.
I'm going to go lay on the couch.
All right, man. I love you, and I will talk to you soon.
Love you too.
Right.
Bye. And now it is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off until you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever.